Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu5, and if you read the title correctly, yes, this is a book review on how to battle depression and suicidal thoughts by Ray Comfort. Just a little heads up, warning, disclaimer, or whatever you want to call it, ahead of time. I'm not reviewing, or I didn't buy this book because I'm in a particularly bad way. I've mentioned in my testimony video and some past videos that I suffer from depression, and I've had some pretty rough times, and hopefully those times are over, and I am medicated for it. It is something I have to deal with, but that's not the reason why I bought this book. Well, it's part of the reason I bought the book. Not because I'm having a particularly bad time right now, but I just wanted to see what Ray Comfort had to say. I like Ray Comfort. He's pretty active on YouTube, on the Living Waters channel on YouTube. He's a street preacher, evangelist, and he's written several books on the topic. Not necessarily depression, but evangelism and theology and stuff. And I enjoyed his micro movies and YouTube videos. And since I do suffer from this condition, I wanted to check out his book. And it is a very digestible book. Keep in mind, I'm extremely dyslexic and a little bit of ADD. It is very difficult for me to focus to read a book manually. So most of the books that I read are audiobooks. And I find this is to be the best way for someone with my conditions to enjoy books. So I recommend, if you're extremely dyslexic, if you're ADD, or if you just have a hard time focusing and reading a book, I recommend audiobooks. And so since I suffer from depression, and since I've had some pretty rough times, and I now see myself on a upward climb, I still have bad days, I still have times that bother me, and I'm still not really happy with myself, but I'm not at DEFCON 5, or Code Red, or whatever you want to call it. I can enjoy funny cat and dog videos on YouTube. I subscribe to Caruso the Celebrity Dachshund on YouTube and Doxy Den. And I can laugh at those videos, and I can enjoy a sunset. So I can enjoy the little things now, which at one point in my life was not the case. But like I said, don't be alarmed that I bought this book. This is purely because I wanted to know what was in the contents of this book, and I enjoyed Ray Comfort, so I bought the book. This is what the cover looks like, and my autofocus is turned off, and I don't know how to fix it, so forgive me. But that's kind of what the what you call it, cover looks like. Let's see if I can turn on the autofocus. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. Awesome. Let's see if I can show you another picture of this cover. That might be as good as it gets. But it's by Ray Comfort. It's a very affordable book. I think it's sub $10. And it's a very digestible book. It's a 2-hour and 13-minute book if you listen to it. And I must say, I'm as normal, because I try not to buy books that I don't like, but it occasionally happens. But I enjoyed the book. Now, the interesting thing is, if you look at the title and you buy the book, you might think that this is a self-help book. And in a way, you might be right. If you suffer from depression and you have very bad thoughts, this could be a good book for you. But I also recommend this book for someone who has a depressed person in their life. Or if you're going to be in ministry, or if you feel that there might be some circumstance where you might need to talk to someone who's having a very bad day, I'd say this is not only a help you book or a self-help book, but it's a help others book. And I think it's a pretty good template to talk to other people who might have bad days or bad problems or doubt or uncertainty. So what this is a fictional conversation between Ray Comfort and a troubled youth on the Golden Gate Bridge. I say youth, he's probably in his 20s or whatever. They described him as a young man with blonde hair. And basically there was this guy that's sitting out on the edge of the bridge, and Ray Comfort is visiting the bridge before traffic gets really busy to take pictures of sunrise, I think. And Ray Comfort is a real person, and he's the author of the book, but this is a fictional conversation. This is a fictional scenario that he uses to illustrate different ideals and concepts and Bible verses. And so Ray Comfort sees this man sitting on the side of the bridge in an area he's not supposed to be, and he decides that he's going to talk to this young man. And this young man talks about all the terrible things that happened to him in his past and the terrible things that he did and his hopeless situation. And Ray Comfort says it's not hopeless. And they have this long dialogue. And first, the young man is angry at Ray Comfort, and then they build a bridge. I guess they connect. The young man in this book decides to listen to Ray Comfort, and long story short, good things happen, and this young man decides not to take his life. And it's a very cool book for several reasons. I've read 2 books in the past 2 days. Within this year, I finished 6 books. Which I'm very proud of, because I can't remember a time ever that I've ever finished more than 2 books in a year, because I'm dyslexic. But just to put things into kind of how I view things, the last book I read was by Ravi Zacharias. And Ravi, I describe him as going Super Saiyan Professor mode. His books are very technical, and he talks on a level that a lot of us are not used to listening to. And he's a good speaker. He's easy to understand. He's from India, but he has an accent that's easy to understand. But the subject matter that he's talking about, and the higher level of education that he has, and that he talks in these books, it can be hard to digest the meaning of the book listening to it once. So both of these books are roughly 2 hours to 3 hours. They're very short books, comparatively speaking. And the book by Ravi that I just read is abridged, so the original book is much longer. But so I'm telling you this because Ravi's books, I need to listen to them more than once to really grasp it. And I'm a somewhat educated fellow. Knowledge is my friend. I love learning things and lectures and stuff. But Ray Comfort's book, on the other hand, this particular book is very digestible. You listen or read it once, and you have a pretty good handle on the information. You might not be able to quote it right after you read it, but you have a good idea of what's going on and you have a good idea what's going on in the book. And I feel that by reading Ray Comfort's book once, you're going to much more easily be able to apply it in your life than reading Ravi's book just once. And I say that not to boo-hoo Ravi's book. I love Ravi's book, but I really want to read it again before I review it. So that being said, this book by Ray Comfort, and yes, that is his real name, and they mention in the book that it sounds like a stage name, but that is his real name. And the only bad thing I have to say about this book is that Ray Comfort doesn't narrate it. And if you ever listen to Ray Comfort on YouTube, he has one of those voices that sound very calm, loving, and sincere. And they actually mentioned this in the book, that the potential suicide victim said, you had a very soft and sincere voice, a calming voice, and I agree. And I'm really disappointed that Ray Comfort didn't narrate the book. I think the guy who narrated the book was Tom Peck, but it was a good book. And like I said, most people who buy this book is probably buying it for self-help reasons. But the title of the book is How to Battle Depression and Suicidal Thoughts. It doesn't state how do you battle your own suicidal thoughts. It just says how to battle suicidal thoughts. Make sure I'm quoting that. How to battle. So, as much of this book being a self-help book, it can also be a help others book. And to me, that I got more meaning from this book on how to potentially help other people than helping myself. Like I said, I suffer from depression. I talked about it in my testimony video. It's really rough stuff. And this is a good little template of how you can approach people that have this very terrible condition. And I've known other people with depression. I've tried to help other people with depression, and although I don't think their depressive issues are fixed, they are more successful than I am, in my opinion. But I did try to help them. I helped them to my best ability. I kind of wish I read this book before I helped them. And also, I do know someone who had someone kill themselves in their family, and I know other people who attempted suicide, and it's just a terrible thing. And even if you don't currently know someone who suffers with depression, I would say this is a good book to read because it can give you tools that can really help people. Not saying that you have to have these tools in this book to help people, because any help is better than no help. But I found this to be a good template of how to approach people with depression. This focuses more on suicidal thoughts than depression itself, because depression can be a very, not so much actively trying to hurt yourself, but it could just be, I don't want to get out of bed. I want to be numb from the world around me. It doesn't necessarily have to be I'm actively looking for a way out. It could just be that I take no pleasure in the sun, and I take no pleasure in a cat knocking over a glass in an internet video. So depression can take many forms. You can be a functioning depressed person, and you can be a non-functioning depressed person. And even if you don't know that you know someone who's suffering from depression or is suffering from suicidal thoughts, this does give you a good template of how to help other people. And so that's it. That's the video. I filmed a much longer version of this review that talks about some of my personal things in it that I might upload, but it's probably too long to watch. It's like a 25-minute video. I'm going to try to end this video before it gets too long. But if you want to listen to Ray Comfort evangelize and talk, look at Living Waters. I'll try to put that in the description box. And or you could just search for Ray Comfort. And he's a really cool guy. And for sub $10, a 2 hour and 13-minute listen, I think is a good book. So that's it. I'm a Satsu 5, and I'm